Welcome to Smut and Sensibility,
a podcast for romance readers and romance writers.
By romance readers and writers.
We are Amber,
Allie,
and Marie,
a group of learned ladies who love talking about the romance genre.
In this podcast, we will talk about our favorite books, writing craft, and how we make room for a creative life in real time.
So buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hello, friends. It's Editing Allie here. Before we get into the episode, I wanted to give both a disclaimer and a thank you. Our disclaimer is that I thought we almost lost this episode while editing. It turned out that only about 40% of our guest Carly Bloom's track was recorded, at least on the back end. And thanks to the very, very helpful support at Riverside, we love you, we were able to recover the entire recording and put an end to what could be best described as my elder millennial meltdown. And the caveat here is that some of the audio and video quality is not where it usually is, and some of our clips will be formatted a little bit differently on social media. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram at Smut and Sensibility Pod, as well as Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Obviously, this is not the end of the world, and it will be fine, and I appreciate your kindness in advance, but just know that my left eye is twitching feverishly as this rolls out with the formatting inconsistencies. But you know what? We are showing up anyway. We're doing so even if the presentation isn't perfect. And I'm so grateful that we were able to recover the second half of this episode because Carly Bloom is such a fantastic guest, and she really is the embodiment of reach back and pay it forward. Today, we are talking about her book, HEX Boyfriend, which is available everywhere and is delightful. And she also has some wonderful advice for all of the writers out there. We love you, Carly. So thank you again, dear listener, for following, subscribing, rating, reviewing, all the things. We see you and appreciate you. And I hope that this episode can keep you company during this crazy holiday season. So from all of us here at Smut and Sensibility, thank you. We love you. And on with the show.
Welcome to Smut and Sensibility, a podcast hosted by a few learned ladies who love talking about the romance genre, our favorite books, writing craft, and how we make room for a creative life in real time.
I'm Amber. I'm a corporate attorney by day and a romance reader and writer by night.
I'm Allie. I'm a doctor, writer, and after-hours academic studying history part-time at Oxford.
And I'm Marie, and I'm currently letting the soft animal of my body love what it loves. And sometimes that's all you can do.
Carly, do you want to do just a brief little intro and follow Marie? I think there's only one place to go, and that's up.
I legit don't want to follow any of y'all. None of those intros.
We couldn't be more excited to have romance author Carly Bloom on the podcast.
Yay! Yay! Thank you for coming.
Carly is the author of HEX Boyfriend and the Once Upon a Time in Texas series, Big Bad Cowboy, Cowboy Come Home, Must Love Cowboys, and they all feature hot cowboys on the covers. Hi, Carly, and welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yay.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Yay.
Oh, yay.
That makes us so
just
happy.
Our humble, very serious smut podcast.
Extremely
very
serious.
Very
yes,
serious.
Very serious.
Very serious.
Before we dive into Craft Corner, and we're going to talk all about Carly's latest release, we want to do our Book Nook segment where we talk about our book racks, what we've been reading lately, and just kind of all the fun that we find in the genre and what's going on in publishing. I can get us started this week. I read Once Smitten, Twice Shy by Chloe Lees, and I loved it. This is the third book in the Wilmot Sisters trilogy, and this is a star-crossed lovers story where they learn to practice romance in a steamy reimagining of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. The first two books are also Shakespeare reimaginings, which is just really fun. The first one was Two Wrongs Make a Right, which is a retelling of Much Ado About Nothing. And the second one was Better Hate Than Never, which is a retelling of The Taming and the Shrew. Yeah, The Taming and the Shrew. I don't think you necessarily need to read the first two to be able to read this third one. It can stand alone, but it is fun. You get sneak peeks of the couples from the first two books and the third one. So it's always really fun when you get to revisit those old characters that you loved from different books. So that was really enjoyable as well. This book follows Juliet Wilmot, or Jules as they call her in the book, and she's the third sister who's recently sworn off love after heartbreak. poor girl. However, she keeps running into our hero, shy Will Orsino, and she can't refuse the opportunity to practice dating and romance with him. And for Will, he believes that happily ever after isn't in the cards for him. And so he's resigned to a marriage to find a wife to help the family business. So when then Jules keeps coming into his orbit and there's an opportunity for this mutually beneficial agreement to practice dating so they can get better at flirty texts, going on dates, and giving each other feedback, this platonic agreement kind of morphs into more. So that's kind of the setup. I really enjoyed this one. Chloe's an auto-buy author for me. I know you all probably discovered by now, I have a lot of auto-buy authors. I have a problem, and that's
It's
why
not a bad thing.
That's the opposite of a problem.
I mean, that's why we
Yeah.
started this podcast, right?
It is.
We just love books, like give them all to me. But this book was so delightful. It didn't disappoint. The fake dating romance and just their soft hearts, and there's neurodivergence and chronic illness representation. It just gave me feels every step of the way. And then I was going to read just a little blurb because for the representation, it's a note from Chloe in the beginning of the book. This story features characters with human realities who I believe deserve to be seen more prominently in romance through positive, authentic representation. As a neurodivergent person with often invisible chronic conditions, I am passionate about writing feel-good romances, affirming my belief that every one of us is worthy and capable of happily ever after, if that's what our hearts desire. Specifically, this story explores the realities of being neurodivergent, autism, and living with a chronic condition, mixed connective tissue disease, and celiac disease. No two people's experience of any condition or diagnosis will be the same, but through my own lived experience of these realities, as well as the insight of authenticity readers, I have endeavored to create characters who honor the nuances of their identities. And it's just so beautifully done. And it's just great to be able to have empathy and live outside yourself and see what those realities are like. So there's just that extra level that's just always so moving. And the tropes in this one, we have a cinnamon roll hero. He's so swoony. The fake dating, as I mentioned. I would say it's definitely slow burn, and there is some spice. So I would say maybe like 2 or 3 flames on a 5-flame scale that I just made up in this moment. So
Flame scale.
we're in the middle,
Okay.
A little spice for flavor, but it doesn't burn your mouth, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
All right, girl.
That is what it is
Yeah.
now. So
Okay.
I don't have any of you guys read Chloe Elise, any of her books?
I love her. I think she does such a good job with like representation, and like there's a lot of care, right? Like that goes into like making sure that things are authentic and a lot of research. And I just respect that time that she takes to do all of that.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with her, but I definitely want to check that one out. And I appreciate how she added in the disclaimer of like, these things are going to show up so differently in so many different people. And it's not about some sort of performing one best way to show. There's only one way that these things can show up for people in their lives. It sounds really thoughtful and done with care. So I'm already very intrigued.
You can borrow my
Awesome.
copy.
Okay.
I read a little bit of a backlist title. I read a novella, To Wed a Rake by Eloisa James. I love a historical, so that was what we were in the mood for. It was a busy week, so novellas are always a good way to get some reading in. So this novella is originally from the Talk of the Ton anthology, and this was then published separately in 2005. So we're going back a little bit. But this was inspired also by Shakespeare, which I'm like, what a fun accidental theme that we didn't even know we had. And there is a line that prominently features like in the story. And so Emma Loudon and Gilbert Baring Gould, who is the Earl of Kerr, they've been arranged to be married and engaged since they were children at the behest of their fathers. And Gilbert has basically been, slinging it around London and Paris.
As they did.
And Emma lives in the countryside with her sister. So they haven't really seen each other in many, many years. And while out and about in London, Kerr makes like an offhanded comment that he will never acknowledge his future wife unless she wears his ring on his finger and has like his baby in her belly. And that is like, the line from the Shakespeare play. And so that sets off like a flurry of letters from the aunts and all of the ladies like that are of these two families trying to get this situation sorted out. And they want Emma to essentially renounce him and move on with her life and break the engagement. And she's like, oh no, challenge accepted. So she heads off to London. And because he has an affinity for French women, she pretends to be a French woman, obviously. And there's a masquerade ball, obviously.
Great scene.
Some really good tropes. Yeah. So there's also like a sex scene on a stage where they are performing A Midsummer Night's Dream. So like that's also a fun tie-in. And she then retreats to the country and he, says that he knew it was her all along. And, there's our little happily ever after. But it was a cute short read. It was fun. There were some epistolary elements with the letters. It was cute.
Yeah. It sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, and she's
Lisa
always
James
such a fun writer.
She has a fun time writing, and you can definitely tell.
Yeah, for sure. She was a favorite of mine for like, I think when I first started really getting into reading historicals, it felt like hers was everywhere. And every one I picked up in that era of reading it was just like fun and scrumptious and just the right amount of angst and just the right amount of playfulness.
Shoot, there's another one. I guess I have to read this one too.
I can quit anytime.
Oh, no.
I don't need a 401k. I have another Eloisa James. Come on.
They will be collectors. Those will be like
I'm gonna retire.
Those will be like your Beanie Babies when you were younger. You collect your Beanie Babies because they were going to be worth money.
Man, there's a throwback. I have been extremely remiss in my reading. I've been swamped in real life. I don't have anything for Book Nook, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Carly
does.
Do you have something you want to share? What have you been reading lately?
Well, lately I've been reading some books because I've had some blurb requests, and then I did a couple of in conversation events at Nowhere Bookshop in San Antonio. And last week I did one about this book. It's by Vanessa King, and it's Ellie Hayes and the Himbos. I had no idea what to expect. It was super fun, kind of like what Amber was talking about with her book. There's chronic illness representation, which is kind of the catalyst for what happens. So she's like in her early 30s. She's in a serious relationship and has an apartment with this guy. And when I read the back cover copy, I'm like, how does she end up living in a house with a bunch of college boys? I'm not sure I'm going to be able to buy it, to accept that there's any situation where that would actually happen. But she pulled it off. She pulled it off really, really well. The villain in the story, of course, is her ex. And she is having symptoms and had some tests where she might end up with MS. And she already has another chronic illness. And so she wakes up one morning and she can't see out of her right eye. And when she tells him that, her person that's supposed to comfort her, he says something, I think it's now what? I looked it up just because I was going to be chatting about this book with her. And, of people who get diagnosed with an illness, chronic or otherwise, and there's a certain percentage that relationships end up dissolving, and it's usually the men.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think I saw
that too. The women will go into like caregiver role, and the men just check it and bye-bye. Not all of them, but it's a much higher percentage, much higher. So she showed that right out of the gate. That's what happens. She needs a place to stay. And the whole time she's been going back and forth to specialists. And this story takes place in Austin, right by the UT campus. Mm-hmm. She's driving past this house that has a pink glittery sign that says room for rent. And in her mind, she's kind of been fantasizing about just getting away. And so after that happens, on like just a whim, she stops, knocks on the door. And then just the whole thing is so funny, the way she describes when she hears them stomping across the floor. She's like, that doesn't sound like girls. She's so funny, the way she just describes these guys, and they're all four completely different people, but they're himbos for sure. She's she takes the room, she moves in. There's no romance with any of those guys. She basically house trains them. The guy that she ends up falling in love. Yeah, it's so good. And the one that she ends up falling in love with is actually an older brother of one of the guys.
Oh, interesting.
Who owns a gym, CrossFit gym. So I loved it. her hero is an ex-bodybuilder, but he's smart. He's emotionally intelligent. He took care of his younger brother. Like, he's not what you'd expect. And like, she just has so much in this book that as a woman, you'll just read one little thing and it just goes straight to here. You're like, oh, yeah, like it's so many of our experiences. So she's at this point in her life where she's just going to start changing who she is, right? She said she doesn't want to be small and accommodating anymore. And so these guys all work at this CrossFit gym that is one of their older brother's gym. And so she goes there and she meets all these different people there. So those are the secondary characters, or people that go to the gym. And she meets a very curvy woman. And she was chatting with her and she was talking about how much she loves the gym, because she was talking about like health issues and how going to the doctor is always like, well, first you need to lose weight. And she said it was so great to go someplace where, and this probably isn't an exact quote, where instead of people trying to get her to make herself smaller, they showed her how much more she could be.
Love
like
that.
This really
I love that.
Female empowering. Vanessa, the author, does CrossFit, like kind of fell into it on accident, and just, she's a tiny little thing and she's just so powerful. Anyway, so it worked for me. It worked for me on a lot of levels. And it was funny. It was actually a rom-com that was funny, even though she was touching on serious issues like living with chronic illness and trying to find a relationship where people can accommodate that, or willing to give enough of themselves to accept a relationship. So yeah, it was a great book.
It sounds amazing.
That sounds incredible. I'm
also
definitely going to have to check that out.
Same. I love rom-coms that also then have surprisingly moments of really deep heartfulness in them too, you know, because you get so used to the fast pace and the funny banter and the laughing, but then all of a sudden it's just like so heartfelt. It's just, I love that. And it's not easy to do. So it sounds like she did a really good job, and I'm excited. It gives me New Girl vibes. Do any of you guys watch the show New Girl?
Yeah.
So like Jess moved in and then like dated one of the older brothers, because I love that show. So Carly, when you were describing it, you were barely into it. I'm like, I'm sold. Like after this podcast, I need to go like TBR.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
New Girl vibes for sure. And,
That's awesome.
And yeah, they have that. She ends up having that relationship with these guys. And she realizes, of course, that she was wrong about them. You know, she drew some conclusions about these himbos, and she was totally wrong. They were, much as are most people that we meet, much more layered and deep than what she gave them credit for. And she did a good job with that as an author too, making these characters full.
Sounds like she's making it look easy.
Yeah, she is making it look easy. And I love Amber was kind of saying like having the fun and the banter of like a rom-com, but then like you can also address like in a safe space, like serious topics and like with, you know, like deep topics, and have the bumpers of, you know, this romance that is funny and that ends happily, but like you can really go on like a deep journey with a lot of people in romance novels. And I think that's like one of the like superpowers of the genre, to be honest.
For sure. Absolutely. Oh, that sounds awesome. So that's Ellie Hayes and the Himbos. Okay. Yeah. And who's the author again? I'm taking notes.
Good. Vanessa King.
Incredible.
All right,
I wrote it down with my lucky green pen.
Awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Well,
cool.
I love it. We're going to get to our main event, Carly. We're again so excited to have you today on our recording, and we're going to talk about your most recent release, which is Hot HEX Boyfriend. We've got it here.
Look how beautiful she is.
So cute. And your government sanctioned your government sanctioned bio. Carly began her writing career as a family humor columnist and blogger, a pursuit she abandoned when her children grew old enough to literally die from embarrassment. To save their delicate lives, Carly turned to penning steamy contemporary romance, the kind with bare chests on covers. And I will say, they are some good chests on those cowboy covers. Carly and her husband raise their mortified brood of offspring on a cattle ranch in South Texas. So welcome again, Carly. So Hot HEX Boyfriend, it was released last fall. I think a lot of these witchy books are coming out in the fall, but this is not like a seasonally fall book. Like this could be, you could read this any time of the year. You know what I mean? I would describe this book as a little practical magic, a little Sabrina, the teenage witch. And then also, I don't know if anybody watched Hart of Dixie. This was like a CW show back in like the early aughts. And it was one of my favorite shows on the CW.
Rachel Bilson, right?
Rachel
Old
Bilson,
school
yes, from
Rachel
the OC,
Bilson.
and took place in Alabama, and like just those Southern vibes, and like that's definitely like what you've got going on here. And I think it was a fun witchy take with South Texas as a character, honestly, too. So I wanted to blurb the book. So when it comes to love, Hex marks the spot in the enchanting romance that will delight fans of practical magic and the very secret society of irregular witches. As a child, Delia Merriweather believed with all of her heart that she was a witch because all Merriweather women were witches. There was just one problem. They had no magic. As an adult, Delia no longer believes magic exists. But when she accidentally breaks a hex and restores her family's powers, she's forced to accept a new reality. She is a witch. And maybe that's why the crushingly handsome guy next door has been looking at her like he's expecting her to fly off on a broomstick, cackling into the night. Just when Max thinks he's done keeping an eye on the bumbling Merriweather women, now he must help his neighbors to learn to control their magic before they out witches everywhere. But Delia can't decide if Max is helping or hexing, and Max can't tell whether his growing feelings for Delia are real or if he's come under the spell of the most powerful and clueless witch he's ever known. And the last thing Max needs is to fall for the one witch who could rule the entire witching world by controlling the hearts of men. Carly, how did you come up with this idea? It was such a cute book. It was so fun. But how did it come to you?
I have no idea.
Came to me in a dream from above.
It was truly magical then. It just appeared.
Needed to be told.
Yeah. I don't know how I write anything. Like everything is subconsciously. Like I don't even know. But I do usually start out usually with one scene or one idea. And I'm a big daydreamer. I think most writers are. So I tell myself stories at night in my head to go to sleep. And I was asked to write a witchy rom-com by my publisher. So I was thinking about it and I was like, sure. I had no idea what I was going to do. And she said, don't make it too magic heavy. Like, let's remember to focus on rom-com. It doesn't have to be like, some huge thing. And of course I was like, okay, so it doesn't have to be magic heavy. So then I came back to her. I'm like, so there's a talking cat and demon. And she's like, that's a little magic heavy. I don't know how I feel about the talking cat, but I knew I wanted a hot tub scene because I love a hot tub.
Love a hot tub
I knew
scene.
I wanted a hot tub scene.
Yeah.
I knew there was going to be fairy magic and that was going to be misunderstood. And I knew that I knew how the spell was going to be broken accidentally. So I started with that. And then I just kind of built the rest. For me, people are always saying, oh, it's a little practical magic. It's a little Sabrina. There's even a little bit of the craft in there. There was this, if y'all remember that movie.
Oh, I remember that movie,
Yep.
Carly.
We're old enough, I promise.
There was a scene inspired by a scene in that book. Well, there's even a little bit of a discovery of witches. I was watching that too when I was thinking about this. There's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of everything, but the voice of it to me when I was writing is that Delia Merriweather is basically my Sookie Stackhouse. If you've read any of the Sookie books, she's just a little sweet small town girl, dealing with her family. She's not a super overachiever. She's had job after job after job after job. None of them have been successful. She wasn't the smartest kid in the class. She's not the most beautiful girl in the world, or at least she doesn't think she is. Max thinks she is, of course. But secretly inside, she is big, powerful, things she's been told about herself that she didn't believe are true, and then some. And to me, that was like a kind of a Sookie angle to it. And in my mind, she even kind of looked like Sookie, and my little small town was this magical place. So that was an influence that really nobody's ever picked up on, probably because those books are so old. But
I read all of those. Yeah, I read all of those. I could totally see that. Amber and we loved Nikki. He was one of our favorite characters, so I'm glad he got to stay.
I mean, I want a second book with just Nikki navigating
human
the world don't want to spoil too much, but like, and in his magical world and find love for Nikki.
Yeah, I would love that.
He's my favorite character. He was my favorite character.
So we're in good company.
We're in good company, yeah.
Every time he came on, speaking of, this is like a good segue. I have one of the quotes that's Nikki. I like laughed out loud and I just loved it. Because like the banter between Max and Nikki and their relationship is so funny and effortless. And again, typically, you know, I love Max and Delia and I truly do, but like to have a side character, like just take over in the best way. So he closed the door, locked it, and collapsed onto a dusty, overstuffed chair while Nikki hovered nearby, grinning. What just happened, Max asked. Cordelia Merriweather came in and stole the martini set while you fumbled about with a tent in your pants. And just like calls him out
evocative
on his shit. Like
paints a picture.
Yeah, it's just so.
I absolutely love Nikki, and I had to like come up with a way to make him human so he could talk because I really didn't want an actual talking cat. I wanted him to be a full-fledged character. So he's an imp and he is able to take on he's normally a black cat. He's a familiar, but he's able to be in human form when he's inside the house or the antique shop. When I write, like I don't plot. I don't know how to plot. I don't know how to outline. I wish I did. I've read all the books. I've taken all the class. I just can't do it.
Not for you.
I find that there is always one character who knows what's going on and is kind of leaving little breadcrumbs for me. And in this book, Nikki was that character. And he knew all along what was going on. And it's just so weird how writing works because like he would say a little something. I'm just typing it. And then later, like it explains something. Like, oh, that one little line he said, oh, this makes sense because blah, blah, blah. And he did that for me so much. So when I got to the end and this one scared me a little because I did not have an ending when I got to the part where I'm supposed to be writing an ending.
Like, I hope it comes soon because I'm getting there.
You did a really good job with the ending. For not knowing what you were doing, I thought that ending was really good.
You made it seem like you had everything figured out.
Yeah, it was great.
Because Nikki did. I know that sounds crazy, but he knew, and that he made the little trail that I ended up following to get to the end. Yeah, he's my guide. He's my spirit guide. And then I hadn't heard the audiobook. I have to buy it like everyone else. They didn't give me one. And
my God. I didn't assume that at all.
I bought my audiobook. And as soon as I heard Nikki's voice, I like almost started crying.
It was so good. I did the audio too, Carly.
That's so beautiful.
It was so good, the audio. Like Nikki's voice, it was exactly him.
I obviously read it because I wrote it.
Yeah.
But like when I was writing it, I heard Nikki and I didn't hear him with a British accent. Like it never occurred to me. The actor who reads Nikki's part gives him a British accent and it was absolutely perfect. It was like I was hearing him for the first time, but for real. Like, and it makes sense. He's hundreds of years old. Why would he have an American accent? It's not like he's, was born in LA. Like, why would he? And I know why he did it. He was trying to, to differentiate between, because he did all the male characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, I'll give this one a British accent. But it just worked so well because it just made him sound, no offense to British people. I love accents of all kinds, but it did make him sound just the right amount of snooty and sarcastic
when he
was talking to Max. Yeah, a little posh when he was talking to Max.
Well, I'm curious, you mentioned the hot tub scene, which as a fellow hot tub scene enthusiast, here for that. Any sort of like pulled into a shower for shenanigans, hot tub, big fan of that. But I'm really curious, we've discussed like the idea of an id list before on this podcast and what an id list is. Are there any other elements like that from your personal id list that you got to put in this book? And if so, what were they?
Well, I don't work with the id list when I'm writing like that. And it's just things that cause joy for you, right? That are meaningful to you personally. So yeah, all of my books are going to have food in them. I love food as a way of expressing love. I am not like a big foodie in like a fancy way. I'm not even a huge cook. But if someone is sad or someone is sick or someone is going through it, I cook and take it to them. So there's always elements of food in all of my books, not just like food is comfort in a healthy way, as in an expression of love. And in Hot Hex, I have the Morning Glory Cafe where they only serve Southern funeral food because it is this comforting thing. And you can just go take care of yourself there whenever. And the woman who owns the restaurant too seems to just know what you need to feel better. So I always have food. That was a big part. One of the secondary characters does charcuterie boards, and like, so she's always doing food. So
slap
doing
the
food.
Salami, Carly. Slapping
the salami. She's like, yeah, she's slapping the salami. So food, and also I don't even know if this counts, but Texas for me. I'm a Texas girl, and I know that so much right now in Texas is like, if you just read social media, it's just so problematic, right? Like, we don't have good leadership. We're gerrymandered. We're got active voter suppression. But the people that I know and love are not that. And this identity that we have, I don't know why, and I know other states think it's obnoxious, but it is a real identity to be from Texas. I don't know why, but I love my state. I love every area of it, but I live in South Texas, which is my favorite part of the state. But I'd say, yeah, I can't imagine writing a book where that's not the setting, because it's just so ripe with characters that you can come up with. This weird independent strain, like I can talk bad about Texas, but if someone else does it, I get like my feelings hurt, like deeply hurt,
A Texan. You're not a Texan.
Right.
You can't say that.
Yeah.
Well, here's a Texan question for you then. Speaking of messing with Texas, is it true that Don't Mess with Texas was originally an anti-littering campaign? Is that true?
Yeah.
Aw,
I heard about that the other day, and I was like,
it's amazing.
we're not supposed to
Perfect
mess
question
with
for
Texas.
Carly.
Right from the source.
It was all these TV commercials, and it would show someone like littering a litter bug, and then someone would like two cowboy boots would pop up, and someone would pick up the trash, and then it'd be like, don't mess with Texas. And then there was like a little jingle too that went with it, and all the school kids, we all got Don't Mess with Texas t-shirts. And yeah, it just became a source of pride, not to clean up, but that's where it came from.
I love that. I love knowing that that's true and real. And I love what you said about like when you look in on a state or when you look on any group of people and you form some sort of big opinion based on media or current things that are going on. But it is really special to be able to write those characters that you see and those people that you know that are just incredibly big-hearted and good and warm and kind and neighborly, and you're reflecting this other side of it and this more personal side. So I love that you put that in. I think more of that, please. I'm into that.
And this is kind of similar, but also small towns. All my books take place in small towns, and I'm a small town girl. And I mean, I'm 25 minutes from downtown San Antonio, which is like the 6th or 7th largest city. So it's not like I'm isolated, and I go into the city a minimum of 2 times a week when my kids were little, like every day for different things. But there is something about a small town, and I mean a real small town, not like one of these small towns that has like 70,000 people. I'm talking like 3 to 9,000 people, right?
I grew up in a town of, I think it was 7 or 8,000 at the time when I graduated. So I hear you and see you, Carly.
Yeah, it's like my brother. I have a Down syndrome brother. He's passed away. But when he got really ill and couldn't stay in his group home anymore, and he's older than me, for a brief time, he ended up in the local nursing home. And like the woman who was taking care of him there on his unit went to high school with me. Like, I would see her in the grocery store and she would tell me what Stevie had done that day. When my mom died and we called, you know, the authorities or whatever, and my mom passed away in a hospice situation, the guy who came to get her went to kindergarten with me. Like, when he hugged me, he knew my mom.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I try to reach in and dig up when I'm writing my secondary characters. Like, in a way, it was bad for Delia because she, in a small town, you get pigeonholed, and then people won't let you grow. You know, that's what you are. That's what we've decided you are, and you're going to stay that way. That was kind of her core struggle, was trying to break out of what other people who'd known her whole freaking life thought she was. And so that's not always great, but they'll also cheer you on. They'll talk about you too behind your back, but they'll cheer you on.
They'll hex you with a dirty house spell every time you try to clean. It gets worse.
Yeah. Ruin your business cards.
Yeah. But even, I mean, in the book, we find out who had actually been hexing Delia's, all of her attempts at having a successful business. And she still loved her and came to her defense and apologized and, you know, grew as a character. But anyway, so yeah, I'm a small town girl. I love the inner relationships that exist in a small town. That it's like this own little bizarre ecosystem that I don't think you find elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
that's really true. I've lived in a bunch of different cities, like big cities. I've like lived, you know, in Chicago, downtown. I've lived in suburbs, like all over. I've lived in a lot of places. And I live right now in a very small town. Like, I think we're like 5,000 people, your neighbors. And like, when stuff happens, like that's who you have to help, you know, each other. And like you said, for better or for worse, like you get pigeonholed and things like that. But there is like an interconnectedness, and it's a survival thing too. There's a lot of history that can't be outrun. And I think, like you said, with, you know, what happened when your mom passed, like that's a good thing too, you know, having that you don't have to explain things, like people just know. And that's also
do things alone. Right?
Yeah, you don't have to do things alone. Like there is very a communal experience.
Mm-hmm. And a shared history.
Yeah. So obviously we are having a magical time in Hot Hex, but you wrote cowboy romances before. How did it feel to switch from a cowboy romance to like kind of a magical realism, witchy rom-com?
Oh my God, it felt so good to be able to just make up the rules, you know, to not have to worry about the way things really work. Like, I'm a huge fan of paranormal, not just paranormal romances, but just paranormal stuff. I'm a spooky girl. And so I really was so happy to have been given that opportunity. I still, though, would write myself into like a strict, like I would decide the world worked one way, and then I would come up against a wall and I thought I could not get through that wall. And then I would think, oh my God, like that's not real. Like, you made that up. Just unmake it up, and now
you can change it.
They can now make it go and work a different way. Like,
make it fit.
That was pretty awesome to be able to do that. But I mean, I loved it. I brought in ghosty elements. Oh, and I loved that Max, who is an actual witch, like literally doesn't believe in a lot of stuff. He thinks it's nonsense. Like, you know, he doesn't believe in ghosts.
Like, very rigid, right? Like a rule follower.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're a witch, my man, my dude.
Yeah.
My dude,
look in the mirror.
I did really like the magic system that you had too.
Yeah, I did too. And I went, and basically, you know, they had been convinced that what they were doing was in their own interests, and it wasn't. It was just serving basically the powerful. And I, you know, that's relevant. Man, that's relevant.
I was going to say, did you take any real life inspiration from that?
Well, sure. I mean, that's just the way the world is working right now. A lot of people have the cover pulled over their eyes. People are doing things that are actively harming themselves and their loved ones because they were believing in a specific political ideology. And so, I mean, I didn't set out to draw those lines. I don't set out to write anything specific. That's why it's so hard for me. But that seeped into it. Like, I could see it. And here was Amy, the side character, just, telling everybody to wake up. And then it turns out they were, totally fooled. So I had like a little mystery in there too, which is the first time I've ever written that, really. But yeah, I did have fun with Max, not seeing how ridiculous it was that he was a witch that was magical and nobody believed in witches other than witches. And here he's like, no, there's no such thing as fairies. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in anything paranormal. That's wacky. And he's a very powerful witch. So it's like, that's a man for you.
100%.
In front of your face. Like, where's the salt?
Yeah.
It's in your hand. Did writing this book teach you anything, or did you learn something new? I mean, maybe it's not the same with each book, or was there anything that really stands out now in retrospect, looking back, that you kind of took away?
That I learned about life, or that I learned about writing?
Anything. And if you're like, no, nothing sticks out, that's okay too. Just, did writing this book in particular teach you anything or surprise you?
It got me a little bit closer to trusting myself, because this was probably the most pantsy I've ever been, as far as being someone who's a pantser right by the seat of my pants. Like, I just had the hot tub scene and just kept going and going and going. And I thought, this is literally not going anywhere. And we got to the end and we still weren't there. And then it all did come together. So I feel a little more confident that is actually my process, even though it's a scary one, that it's going to end up somewhere.
Love that takeaway. And it sounds easy to try to be more confident in yourself. It's an easy thing to say, but in practice, it's so hard. Especially as women, sometimes just what we've been conditioned to sometimes not take up space or make mistakes. And then I'm taking away that, like, a hot tub scene, a lot can come from a sexy, bubbly hot tub. So
That's right. A whole book.
whole book can start from a hot tub.
And
That's all you
magic.
need.
Magic.
And
came
magic.
from-
Done.
Yeah.
So what are you going to be, other than the hot tub scene expanded edition book, what are you working on now? Can you tell us any details?
So I'm working on another paranormal romance.
Oh, fun.
Because I'm in it now.
In
And
it.
She's in the hot tub.
We want it. Give it to us.
I'm
I'm
happy
in it.
you're in
It's-
it because I loved this
it's-
book.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. This one is called Calm, Cool, and Cursed. I mean, that's a working title. I don't know
Fun.
if it'll get changed. So there was another curse hex element to it. The hero is a horror writer who has an agoraphobic aunt who lives in this mansion, old rundown mansion in Texas. And he thinks she's agoraphobic. She claims that she's cursed and can't leave the property, that she just can't, that's part of the curse. He finds out when she dies, and he's there with her when she dies, which she tried for him to not be, that not only is it an actual curse, but it is now passed on to him.
Oh,
And he
interesting.
can't.
That's a rough
But the
day.
property was sold right before she died to Victoria Duncan, who is a social psychologist, but also a paranormal debunker, daughter of a famous television psychic.
Oh my God.
And she buys the house. He can't freaking leave the house. He's in the house.
Oh my God.
That's
And
the best force proximity
first-
ever, Carly.
Like,
Oh my
literally
God.
forced
At first-
proximity on top of each other.
I love it.
First, he thinks that he's passed it along to her because his aunt told him, and he was hardly listening because he thought it was just ramblings of a woman with mental illness. But then he tries to do the thing. He welcomes her. He gives her the key. He says an embarrassing little poem type thing that makes she's like, are we dramatic or what? And then he tries to leave and he still can't leave, but she thinks he's left. But of course, she discovers him. He convinces her that he is writing a book on the house is his inspiration. Can he be like a writer in residence until he finishes this book? She needs money. She cannot afford the house that she just bought. So she agrees to let him stay till he finishes the book. But really, he's looking for the key that he thinks he gave her the wrong key. If he can give her the right key, then he'll pass the curse along to her and he'll be free to leave. Of course, he starts falling for her and he doesn't want to curse her. He doesn't. He's still looking for the key, but now he's trying to solve how to break the curse so that it doesn't affect anybody. But anyway, that's it. I've got a horror writer named Cannon Thorne who's a little bit neurotic. He's adorably neurotic, and he's scared of the dark because he's been scared shitless in that house as a child because it is a haunted house. Yeah.
That sounds incredible.
Amazing.
I'm so invested. There's so many elements in there that are tropes that I really, really love. And so I'm very curious. I want to eat that with a spoon.
I'm
sorry,
very much anticipating this. I'm very excited about it.
It's kind of like Ghost Hunters meets The Haunting of Hill House, only it's a rom-com.
I'm sold.
So,
Yeah, and I love like her was that one of her parents was a known psychic, but yet she's debunking. So like talk about all to unpack there, and then she doesn't want him there, but needs the money and the roommate, even though she bought the house. Like totally relatable. Hello, this economy. Like who doesn't need a roommate and extra monies? It's so great. What a great setup.
Also, she's researching how people's belief systems as a community, like how that affects them, because the town that she moves into considers itself the most haunted town in Texas. So and she takes a job teaching at a small liberal arts school there, but she's doing research to understand how collectively these people believe these mistruths. So she buys this house that is haunted. That's why she bought it. And of course, she doesn't believe it's haunted. In addition to, I can pay rent, he's also like, I've been in this house my whole life. A good portion of my childhood was spent here. I know the stories. She loves a ghost story. Like if she hears she starts talking about a ghost story, she pulls out her phone to record it. So he's like, I know all the history of this house. My family's owned this house for generations. So she agrees to let him stay. He can also light the pilot light on the water heater that scares her.
Very useful.
When he was trying to talk his way into being allowed to stay, he told her like not to worry about the water heater because your eyelashes grow back in about 6 weeks. So
I got skills, you know? We got to lean into the things you're good at.
Growing eyelashes.
Yeah.
Carly, you've been writing for a while. How did you fit like writing in with, work, kids, life? How do you make room for it?
Well, I've always written. I used to write about my kids, actually, which honestly, if I could go back in time, I probably wouldn't have done that. Like my whole perspective on that has changed. We're not people's entertainment, and they certainly weren't. But I've always written. It's a way I process my feelings. But when I decided to write a book, I just was like, I think I'm going to try to write like a fiction book. When I decided to write, one of my daughters was dancing like 4 and 5 nights a week in the city in San Antonio. And she ended up being a ballet dancer. But when she was a kid, I was the one driving her to ballet classes. So I literally wrote my first book in the minivan, like just sitting in the van while she was dancing, or in coffee shops. I had a real hard time writing at home, as I'm sure anyone with kids can relate to. It's just, you got to get into the space. You got to get into this fictional non-reality. And if I'm waiting for someone to come bug me, I can't get there. I just can't get there. So it really helped for me to have some place I had to go that I didn't have to feel guilty about going. I was taking her to dance. So that's how I wrote the first one. And the second one, probably.
That's amazing. I think that goes to show, like you said, you decide you gotta, maybe it's a bit delusional. You have to really want to write the book because it's hard, and it's mostly finding time within real life that there's a lot of moving parts, and sometimes you're tired and exhausted, and it doesn't fit in the schedule very well. And writing in the van isn't the most sexiest thing, but like you want to get your story out. So I just love that kind of grit story of like you were determined to do it and you just did it. So I love that.
And I felt like I had to do it. I really, it's a tough business. And I have many times thought about like, oh, maybe I won't torture myself with this anymore. But honestly, I have to write. It's not even like this big, like it's like I'm dependent on it. Not financially, thank God, but just like I have to write for my sanity. So
in those early days, because I feel like we have a lot of romance readers, but also like, little authors, ourselves included. What was it like when you got your agent and that first book deal? Like, what did that look like and how did that feel?
it was phenomenal because I'm a little bit, I don't feel like I'm a pessimist. I like to say I'm more of a realist, but I also don't want to, like, I never want to pump myself up for like then to be bitterly disappointed.
Mhm.
I'd rather just walk around disappointed all the time, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so I didn't really expect it to happen. So it felt really fantastic when it happened. And getting an agent, I mean, if you've ever queried, that it's kind of like, it's almost like that situation where if you're a debut novelist, you don't have a huge social media following. It's kind of like you almost feel like you have to write a book to get an agent. I mean, you have to have a book out to get an agent, and you can't get a book out without an agent. Like, it's difficult. And I had been rejected with my first book. I was rejected by everyone I thought to query. And then I ended up getting it published with Entangled, and they were accepting unagented submissions at that time. And then after the book came out, Erin Quinn, who was a romance author, just saw it on Fresh Fiction, and she was between books, so she had time to read. She read it, and then she emailed me and said, "Do you have representation?" And I said, "No." And she said, "I'd like to introduce you to my agent." And it was someone who had rejected the book, but Erin had sent it to her. Yeah, Erin sent it to her after she read it, and she actually read it at a RWA conference, and then told Erin, "Yeah, I would like to talk to her." But yeah, I told her, I'm like, "So I queried you with this book," and she's like, "Oh, I'm sure I never saw it." Like intern stints. And that's one thing that I feel like people don't know is that, yes, you need to query, but I don't know too many, if anyone, who got their agent that way, which I'm sure people do. I'm sure they do, but no one I know did, that I know of. It's why it's so important to build community as a writer, even if, a lot of writers are extreme introverts. They feel like they don't need that social interaction, but it's really important to build community. I did not know Erin, but the reason the book even got picked up by Entangled is because so many people had laid eyes on it and helped me and given me feedback and told me what to do. I feel like it's really hard to do this alone. And it's also important. It's important for authors who reach a certain level of success to make sure that they are also giving back and helping people behind them who are still in the query trenches. And I do that when I read a book that I like, that's an indie book, and I'll ask the author, like, "Are you seeking representation?" And sometimes they're not. But it was such a huge deal to me that Erin Quinn did that. Like, that's why I'm where I am now. So I will ask, and if they say yes, I will send it to my agent. I also read people's manuscripts. I just try to give back as much or more than people gave to me.
I love that pay it forward mentality. Like we lift each other up and you recognize you got lucky, and we're so excited. More than just luck, right? You had the talent and you wrote the book, but like you said, it's hard. The agents have so many slush piles, and they themselves may not read it or even get to it. And so I love that everything, the stars aligned for you, and you're giving that back and giving it to somebody else when you come across books to continue to pay it forward.
But yeah, just being able to help out your community and being able to help, because you spend so much time working on just one book, and then to just query on that book, and then you feel like you've spent all this time doing it. I love that attitude of just like, you got to build community. It's so much who you know and who you're willing to kind of lift up with you in whatever step of the staircase you're on. you just kind of put a hand behind you and you're like, come on up here. Like, let's
Support
do
groups,
this.
right?
Yeah.
It feels good. It's
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah.
That's how you
Yeah.
build community and connections, and people want to stay and not just, see you and then leave.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
there wasn't
So
that
it sounds
authenticity.
like that building community. I mean, I wanted to ask, like, if you had advice for aspiring authors that are just kind of beginning and really looking ahead down this road of where they want to be with their work and their career, what would you tell them?
Well, I do have some advice, but can I tell a funny story first?
Yes.
Because it has to do with my agent. So
Give us the tea, Carly.
that all
Give us
happened
the
really
tea.
fast. Yeah, it all happened really fast. Like, I had this book out there. I was working on a second one. The book hadn't done especially well. Erin had read it without telling me, and she had sent it to my agent, who ultimately became my agent, really without telling me. And then after the agent said, yes, I like this book, then she reached out to me. So all that was going on behind the scenes. So it was really fast. She's like, do you want an agent? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, can I have my agent call you? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, when? And I'm like, I guess tomorrow. And I hate the phone anyway. Like, if the phone rings, I look at it like it's a snake. Like, I just stare at it for a while. Like, I don't want to answer it. So I have like such phone anxiety. If I have to make an important phone call, like at 3:00, I can't do anything at all until 3:00 because I have to make a phone call at 3:00. That's my thing for the day. So the idea that this woman was going to call me was just unbearable. But I was waiting for the phone to ring, just sitting there. It rang. I stared at it. I got all sweaty. I answered the phone, and I knew that she was going to offer representation. Why else is she called me? And we chatted a little bit. I said a bunch of dumb stuff, probably like I'm doing right now on the podcast.
No.
You're doing great.
So at the time, we had this rooster named Freddie Mercury, because he strutted all over the place, and he crowed and had become kind of a pet, and he would just hang out on our front porch, right? Like, and he would crow when someone drove up. It was like a dog. So I'm sitting there, the phone rings, I answer the phone, I'm like, trying to sound normal, and Freddie just goes off, like, on the porch. Don't make me do a rooster impression. Y'all know what that sounds like. So that's how
I feel like we
really loud.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So Paige, who's in New York, and in my little small town mind, I have been to New York City, but still I'm picturing her like up like on the 87th floor of whatever building, dressed like, and hear my rooster crows. And she says, was that a rooster? And y'all, there was really only one answer, right? But I said no.
Girl.
What was it?
So, like, it just shot out of me. No, like, I was ashamed I had a rooster on my porch. No. So,
you're hearing things.
My
Do you
mind
need your hearing checked?
You're gaslighting your future.
Yeah, my mind is just racing. Like, the alternatives to that having been a rooster was like, no, it was my husband, or no,
Poor Jeff.
There was
Just
no
thrown under the bus.
No.
There was no alternative solution to what it was. So I just said no. There was this awkward silence, because clearly that had been a rooster. And then she just changed the subject. So yeah, I brought that up with her. She's been my agent for about 10 years now. And I recently brought that up with her, and she goes, I don't even remember. She's like, way weirder things have happened than that. I'm like, with me? And she's like, meh. Anyway,
Maybe.
That was my funny story.
That's funny.
But my advice for people coming up is that you really, again, form a community, and you really have to be willing to listen and accept what people tell you. Critique is the hardest thing to get for most of us, not for everybody. For me, I have really thin skin. Forcing myself to actually listen and accept critique just made so much difference in the quality of that very first manuscript. And I'd only written one. So the first book I've never written a book that didn't get published yet. There's always a first time, but so far that hasn't happened to me, because I just keep perfecting and polishing. And So I really counted on people to help me, to tell me this is how it works. You can't use that. That doesn't make sense. And just the craft. You have to pay attention to the craft. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't know how to communicate that, it's not going to make it on to the paper. So my advice is to form a community, listen to what people say, learn how to discern what is actual critique and what is just, some people really like to give critique, like no matter what, they just want to give it. So you have to learn, like if it's something that multiple people are saying, then listen to that. If it's just someone one off, you know, and you feel strongly like that's not an issue, then don't. You'll learn when you get enough of it. You'll learn to hear that what you should listen to and what you don't have to listen to. And then the other bit of advice is just like sappy, cliche, whatever, but it's so true, is like just don't quit. Like there were so many times where I could have quit, where I wanted to quit. And I feel like that's it. If you quit, for sure, you're not getting published. You're not. So just to build up a community of people you trust, people you like, and to keep going, learn your craft. I'm a big craft person.
Yeah,
you are. I love your craft talks that you come to Smut You, which is a great community if you're looking out there
for a community,
for a writing community.
Writers.
Speaking of forming community,
Speaking of forming community, do you want to join?
about
We're doing our culty voices again.
Yeah, we're doing
join us. But I think that's one of the benefits of any community, where thinking about the talks that you've brought and the way that we all kind of work in collaboration with each other is like, number one, I think a lot of maybe aspiring authors, something I've heard before, avoid community because there's a feeling of like threat of like, well, if I'm writing a book about this and somebody else, like I've heard a couple people already that are writing things that are kind of similar to ideas that I'm working on right now. And like, you know, that we all could sit down with the same list of tropes and we would come up with completely different takes on it. And that's the fun of it. But also, so like, don't let that hold you back. But also, all of you are better at certain things than I am, and we can bring our stuff to class. Like anytime you've come and given a talk on like Deep Third, and then I'm like, oh shit, like my characters are really not doing that. They're very removed. Oh no, they need to be. No. I need to be like, I need to be in it. I need to be in the hot tub. I don't need to be over here going, my goodness, hot water. You know, we all just make each other better, because like a lot of times too in that like vision process, like you're talking about with the polishing it up, like I get so close to my stuff where I'm like, I don't even know, like this lives so firmly in my head. I don't even know if I've said this. And then somebody else can read it and go, you don't ever explain that. That is not in the story. And then you can go, oh yeah, you need to know that. So just the benefit of community and good critique. Like that's such good advice. So I appreciate that.
And all the wisdom.
Yes,
Definitely.
appreciate all of your time and everything. Where can we find you? On the internet? In the bookstore? What's a good place to follow?
Texas.
We know you're in Texas. Where's a good place to find Carly Bloom?
I mean, you mean my books?
Your books, your social media?
I'm on all the socials. So just Carly Bloom Books. You can find me wherever. Instagram. I'm not on, it's not Twitter anymore, but I'm everywhere else. You can find me. I have a newsletter you can sign up for on my website. I'm a newsletter procrastinator, so I promise not to bomb your inbox. You will get an occasional exciting special newsletter.
Awesome. And we'll link all of your socials and everything down in the descriptions. People are interested in picking up any of your books. Cowboys
all of them.
All of them. Any and all. Yes. And Cowboys are having a big moment right now too. So, you know, I think
for mine to have a big moment. So
okay.
Would you ever write Magical Cowboys?
Good question.
Book 3, maybe.
I mean, because like even in Hot Hex, some of those, you know,
It's true.
The witching world, I'm sure some.
You could call it Home on the Strange.
Oh my God, Marie.
That's really good.
That's really good.
Really bad. I'm not sure. Actually, that's either really good.
That's what I'm here for.
It's one of those two things.
She keeps you guessing.
But,
you're like, I don't know.
Feedback is important.
Constructive critique is important. All right. So we like to end each episode with a happy ending, just because we like to end on positivity and mindfulness. And also, we all deserve happy endings, our characters included. So does anybody want to go first? It doesn't need to be related to writing, Carly. It can be personal. It can be something simple, big, just anything that makes you happy in the last week. I'll go first. Don't all jump at once.
Class.
It's crickets,
Like,
right?
we
Like,
wanna
who
answer?
should go first?
Yeah.
Who should go first? I am really thankful for my friends and family being really supportive during this time of Patrick being deployed. Like it's been a transition. I've talked about it before, but right now you can tell him from a different location. Because when we're recording, this is after school for Lachlan, and he's 3 years old, and he just doesn't understand that like I can't just come and talk to mommy in her office. And he's been a little bit of a barnacle, and we understand why, because daddy left for work and didn't come home. I'm also the coolest, so I get it. Like he just wants to
100%.
hang out with me. But
For
anyway,
sure.
so our friend Matt is a friend of Patrick's from college swimming, and then he was in our wedding. He doesn't live too far and offered me his room to record from. So I just want to be thankful and shout out Matt. Also, side note, he is an amazing woodworker. He made that behind me.
Amazing.
Furniture, all the things. I'm trying to get him on Etsy. I think he's almost there. He might have done it. If so, I will link. I know that's not related, but I just, I love feeling supported in a time of need, especially when asking for help can be hard, right? You don't want to feel needy or impositioning other people. But at the end of the day, when things are hard, we need to lean on our communities. And it's been hard not having your partner and Lachlan's daddy around. So thank you, Matt, and the use of the office. So maybe in the future, this is my first destination recording of the pod. So when you see me here, you'll know we're hanging out with cool Uncle Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
So that's my happy ending for the week.
Yay.
Who wants to go next?
I could go next. Mine is kind of just short and sweet. I have had some very interesting growth opportunities come up in my mundane, non-writing career path. And I'm in a position kind of for the first time in my life after doing the stay-at-home mom thing for a long, long time. I'm in a position where I get to start thinking more strategically about career moves. And speaking of putting yourself in a good community and taking feedback, I've really had the opportunity to experience both of those things really well, of being in a company that I really genuinely enjoy the people I work with, and receiving feedback from people that's really positive in a way that I'm not used to seeing myself through that lens. So, on one hand, I have to kind of balance out this corporate side, but I feel like I'm really grateful for the ability to have that experience and grow in that direction, but also like be able to give myself a lot of time to write. And that is something I'm really, really thankful for. So right now, at least for now, I'm just thankful for opportunity and perspective and balance, and being able to do the creative work that I want to do while also paying my power bill, which I'm a huge fan of having heat in my house.
It's a good option.
I'm a big fan of that, actually. So,
yeah,
I'm grateful for
that.
Like, me too, honestly.
You made it sound 30
it's
like, yes, queen.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And I have many offline thoughts about it for you.
Get up the voice notes. Great.
Voice notes and wine later.
Voice
Oh my
notes and
God, I
wine.
love
Yeah.
wine.
Carly, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go next?
Should we do rock, paper,
I can go
scissors?
next.
Do you guys want to rock, paper,
Okay.
scissors?
Okay, let's do rock, paper, scissors. You want me to go first, or you want to go first,
You can go first.
or next?
Carly,
You go.
I'm
You're
first.
our esteemed guest.
let's hear it.
I'm having trouble tonight coming up with words. Like you can
Words are
put
hard.
writer. That's what I do. I don't know words.
It's hard.
I can't think of anything specific this week except that Thanksgiving's my sport. Like Thanksgiving's coming up. I host. That's my thing I look forward to all year. So just this week, I have felt a lot of just gratitude that things are just going well with my family. I have a ton of kids. My son just got married, not last month, in September. My other son is getting married in March, and he's an archaeologist in Wyoming, and he's coming home on Monday for Thanksgiving. So we're going to be doing wedding plans, and we're going to go shopping for his suit. And my daughter is happy and farming, and I have an almost 2-year-old grandson who just every day is something to be like just bowled over by. It's just magic. My other daughter is doing well. She's directing the Nutcracker right now for her little dance company that she's the artistic director of. And then my other son is fixing to graduate from college. Like everything is just fine.
Blessings. Like so many.
And I'm so aware of everybody whose lives are not going fine right now. And I just don't want to take it for granted for even 1 second that everything's fine. I think things being fine is severely underrated.
Yes. I always say fine is good because it
agree.
doesn't mean bad, right? Like sometimes things are fine and people interpret that as boring and like fine is amazing. We're cruising at a good speed.
Study can be
bumps.
so relaxing.
There's lots of people not doing fine.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
That would really want to be fine.
Yeah.
And I think we've kind of been conditioned with like, you know, marketing and social media that the expectation is like, you know, we need to live a 5-star life. You know, everything needs to be amazing all the time. And I think this season, especially, like you said, Carly, it just kind of really puts it like in perspective, you know, with everything that's going on. And the simple things of like, everybody's healthy. We're going to be together and we're like happy and safe. Like those things feel very special this year. And I think that like more of that, please, you know, less you need these shoes and this dress and this, you know, all these things that they're trying to sell you and more of that like connection. And I think that that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And for me, mine's like really simple. I had like a really good week at work. It was not too stressful. And I feel like that has been not the case lately. And so like I actually had space to work on stuff when I got home from work and think about the story that I'm writing and have a brain cell when I get home. So like that was really nice and that felt really good. And we're also, this week it was really fun. We do like adopt a family with our department. And so I was hanging out in the office the last 2 days of my work week and they had the Christmas tree up and we were like wrapping presents and like it was just like a really good vibe.
I
So
love that.
it was a good week.
That's awesome.
It makes me so happy, especially with flu and cold season approaching. I just always worry about you on your work weeks. I'm like, is Allie surviving at the hospital?
Right,
Like, is she
usually,
doing
yeah.
okay?
Maybe.
I haven't heard from her in a little bit.
But yeah, this week was good. Well, thank you so much, Carly, for coming on the podcast
Thank
and
you.
Yes, thank you so much.
talking about your work and, you know,
Don't
writing.
forget to
and
pick up your copy, everybody.
Yes, don't forget to pick
she
up
Two
our
gorged.
copies. Perfect
And-
holiday gift.
Yeah.
Amber and I both listened to the audio, didn't you, Amber?
Yeah, I did both.
Yeah,
'cause
and they're
have
so
a
good.
problem.
Like the audio is really, really good. It's dual narration, I believe, right? Yeah. It was awesome. So pick up HEX Boyfriend and follow Carly and stay smutty and go forth in pursuit of your happily ever after.
see you guys next week.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.